let's talk a bit about the OSI layer. So this is a topic that I've chosen to study about like how the OSI layer looks like and what is OSI layer. So in a normal network, whenever we are talking about a network is everywhere. Like for example, I'm talking to you, so the voice is there, data is there. You can see the sharing of the screen, you can see the video. So network is everywhere. Sometimes decades or 3 or 4 decades back, it was not like this. So the network was not spread that widely, but now we are, every time we are connected in a network, whether you are doing a WhatsApp calls or Facebook calls or any type of the calls. So you are always there connected to a network. So this is all about the network. So OSI layer is a model that basically tells you like how the network works from layer 1 to layer 7. So in basic, there are 7 layers of OSI. So it tells that how the communication is done between one end, one source to the one destination. For example, I'm contacting you, so there will be a flow that how the data would be passing from one end to the other end. So this is all about the OSI layer model. In actual, right now, still OSI layer is used, but now it is also treated as a legacy. Right now we have TCP IP layer model, but in anyhow it's similar because it is just a newer version of OSI layer. That's all. So as I was telling you about the network, so network, a bit more understanding about the network. So as I told you, like any of the thing that is connected to our cell, whether that's a mobile phone, laptop, headphones, anything that is part of a network. So there are, in a very simple way, there are two type of a network. That is a LAN network and a WAN network. LAN network is a local area network and WAN network is a wide area network. What is LAN? Simple, very simple question. LAN is anything that is connected to your network which is working in a private address range. That's the LAN is. Like you are not connected to the internet, you are still in your home and you have a router over there and there's an IP range 192.168.1.1 and the range is huge. So that means you're connected to a LAN network. When you connect to the internet, so ISP is involved. So that means wide area networks jumps in. So geographically, wide area network is very huge as compared with LAN. LAN can be huge. I like there is a miss, like people don't get this, that LAN is like small. No, LAN can be wide, a lot huge. Universities can have a huge LAN, but whenever you connect to any of the ISP, any of the third parties, so that means WAN is involved and wide area network is involved. So this is the basic understanding like how the LAN and the WAN are basically working. So now let's talk a bit about the OSI layer model. As I told you, that OSI layer model is a model, it's nothing physically there, but that's a model, that's a concept that you should understand, that how the network is working, how the network is working from physical layer till the application layer. Now let's take a bit about the example. If you're using any of the Google application, if you're using HTTP, for example, so that means you're working on the application layer. So whenever you're working on application layer, so that means that that's the human language. For example, I want to talk to my computer. How can I talk to that computer? There's no option. There is an application. For example, there's an Outlook, that's an email. So Outlook is an application. So I use Outlook as an application to give the email. So that's the application layer. So whenever you're talking about the human language, whenever you're talking about the application layer, layer number 7, so that means you're talking about the human language, the application that you will instruct them. That's the application layer. So example is, for example, HTTP can be an example of this. And normally just take an example of browser or any of the Outlook can be the part of it. So Outlook. After that, when the computer have understood that, then it comes the presentation layer. The presentation layer is the prime focus of the presentation layer is encoding and the conversion of the human language to the computer language. So this is the job of the presentation layer. That job is coding. So sorry about this, guys. I am using the mouse because I'm working from home, so it's difficult to, I don't have the pad. So application layer is the human language that we give the instructions. So that's is coming under the umbrella of application layer. Then is the presentation layer. Presentation layer is the conversion of the language to the computer language. Then come the session layer. Session layer, in a very simple understanding, just a session layer is creating a session, a time in, a timeout, or you can say a half duplex and a full duplex. That's a huge topic. Just remember this with the timeout. Time out. So now application layer is I'm telling the computer. Presentation layer is changing my language. Session is basically creating a session. Now jumps in the transport layer. Transport layer is basically a layer that is very important layer. It is, remember, whenever we are talking about the transport layer, so that means we are talking about the segments. We are talking about the connection, a logical ports. The ports will be included. Ports can be logical ports. Those ports are, they are different type of ports. So the transport layer is dealing with the segments. Ports are TCP ports and UDP ports. Ports from 0 till 65535. So whenever you're talking about ports, logical ports, so that means you're talking about your transport layer. If you're talking about HTTP, so what it come in your mind? That is the port number 80. If you're talking about HTTPS, so that's the port number 443. So similar, like different type of the ports. So transport layer is the segments, is the port can be TCP, port can be UDP. So there are different type of ports, and those ports are known as logical ports. So segment is there. Now comes in network layer. Network layer is basically treating with the packets. So whenever we are talking about network layer, so that means we are talking about packets. So whenever you're talking about packets, so that means you're talking about route. You're talking about route. So who decide the route? That's the router. So packets, routers are there for the network layer. So now the router decide like which part should be given. Then comes the data link layer. Data link layer is working on frames and working on a switch network, frames and a switch. So router is there, then comes the switch. So that's the switch. And finally, the physical layer is bits. Now, when you are done with, now coming back, application layer telling up that, okay, I'm telling you that, okay, now you have to go to the web browser, HTTP. So that's the application layer. Conversion is done on the presentation layer. Then there's a session built between one end to the other end done by the session layer. Then the transport layer, and now we are dealing with the ports. What port? Because computer don't understand this. Computer say that, okay, what port you are working? So it will say that I'm working on HTTP. So that means port 80. So now the segment is there. When you have decided the port, then jumps in the router. Okay, now let's decide the path. The path, that means we are talking about IP, we are talking about Internet Protocol, IP, IPv4, IPv6, so that all works on under the network layer. Then comes the switch. Okay, now let's talk about MAC address. MAC address jumps in data link layer. And finally, when it comes to the physical layer, so that means 1010s are there. So 1010s are traveling through wired line or wireless. Wireless are the signals and wired lines are the electronic signals. So this is how the application layer, presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, network layer, data link layer, and physical layer works.